Oh my gosh, I just came back from the black hole. I have returned. I have found Murph here. And Tucker?
Holy shit. Oh my god.
Bro, I never left. I just went to the Canada Dome.
Oh, that's fair. That's totally fair. I don't know if you've kept up with the lore of the Daydream Cast, but the station on the Satellite of Dreams, Tucker, has blown up. And now we are taking residence in a cottage.
Yeah. That sounds nice. Sounds nice. I mean, most of the best podcasts are recorded from cottages, as far as I know.
It's a cottage industry.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
It's good that we're establishing lore, because when we need to play, like, a bad game, like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, we'll have established our dark alternate selves that are trapping us and forcing us to play it.
How dare you call Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts a bad game? How dare you?
Well, also, when the studios come to you for the Daydream Cast film adaptation or TV series adaptation, the lore is going to be very helpful in getting that strip sold.
Yeah. It's just like FNAF. But we're burying the lead here. Tucker, how have you been, man?
I've been on that grind. You know how it is. You know, I've been just working my way to becoming an actual human being. Last time that I was on this podcast, I had yet to graduate from college, and I have now achieved that feat. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you for clapping.
Okay, good.
Everybody
That's
clap.
good. Yeah, I'm clapping.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly just hanging out with my friends and figuring things out as I go.
You are on that grind. You and Abram are the grindiest people I know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of grinds, you played Dragon's Dogma 2, Tucker.
I have, yeah. I was actually just playing it about 5 minutes before I moved over the couch or moved off my couch into a recording because I'm a professional.
I bet you wish you were playing that right now. How good is it?
Here's the problem. It's just controversial, but I think it has some cool ideas, but I don't think anything that it does is at an incredibly high level. The story is okay. The world design is okay. The characters are okay. The combat is okay. The exploration's okay. I think it is a good, well-made game, but I have yet to find the spark that's like, oh my god, this is the one. This surpasses every open-world fantasy RPG before. I'm like, yeah. There's some ideas there.
That sounds like the sequel to Dragon's Dogma, all right.
Yeah, well, I have no experience with the original one, so I can't make any comments there. But this is my first experience with this, not this kind of game, because I played open world RPGs before, but this series at least.
You know, I'm actually curious for some game analysis here, Tucker, or like some taste analysis.
Okay.
So I think Dragon's Dogma falls into the very specific niche of like a 7 out of 10 game you love.
Oh,
and
sure.
That's where it hits for people.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's paying off, if that's what it is for Dragon's Dogma 2, it's a great 7 out of 10 game that someone loves. And also, do you personally have a 7 out of 10 game that you love?
Well, I think that you're probably right about that first thing. Now, that is probably just me projecting, because I think 7 out of 10 is probably where I would go for it. I'm about 14 or 15 hours in, so I played a really solid chunk of the game. Like, I'm not just, like, talking out my ass. I barely played any.
Sure.
So, but I would probably give that, and so I'm a little bit projecting on that. But it does seem like a lot of other people think it's like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, and I'm a little bit perplexed by that. Maybe it's just because I didn't experience the first one, and so what this has added, I can't really, I can't tell. I can't I can't say definitively, oh, this is so much better than it was before. But yeah, I think that's about right in my mindset. Like, I can understand why someone would really get into this, but it has yet to grab me in any specific way, and I think part of that is just kind of an identity thing. When I play a game, I'm looking for something that game does that only that game does. And to be fair, there are ideas like the pawn system in Dragon's Dogma 2, where you bring in the assistants that other people have created, and those become your party. I think that's a cool idea, and that obviously is an idea that only that game does. But a lot of the ideas that this game does, and only it does, kind of just feel like cool concepts, but not like fully realized. Like, I'm looking for identity. This game is it's just a fantasy world. There's not really any interesting characters. There's not even like in Skyrim where you have the Dragonborn and you can do the shouts, and like that's an identity for that game. That's something that is unique to that game, and I think this just feels a little bit I don't want to say uninspired, but generic, I guess, because it's kind of just a fantasy world, and that I think kind of turns me away from it a little bit.
I mean, I think I definitely see this in terms of taste of RPGs or whatever. Because like you look at like a Brendan, and he likes a lot of stuff where it's hard to say the right words for this. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily generic because it's not, but it's a lot more blank to where you can project things onto for the experience. Definitely. So like you'll look at like a lot of the older RPGs where they have simplistic parties, for instance, where you can just sort of do that, or like Legend of Grimrock, things like that, where you sort of make these things as you go, and the systems are what enable that. And I don't think you're necessarily opposed to that, but I think you probably want more direction.
Yeah, I think for me it's kind of like a personality thing. I like the idea of having these auto-generated characters that other people have made, and it's a cool concept, but they're not characters. They're AI that are like filling in the blanks with like repeated lines and stuff. And
usually the funnest pawns are the goofy ones that take you out of the game.
Yeah. But I mean, at least compared to other RPGs where the party is the focus, I mean, bonding between the characters and learning about their personalities is a big part of why I think RPGs are so interesting, because you get to spend, 40, 50 hours with them and really get to know them and their personalities and see how things bounce off each other. But everything is temporary in this game. It feels very fleeting because these aren't characters. They're AI generated, like just using things that are fed into the algorithm to like say this at this time, and then you like dismiss them. And so I just think there's a little bit of a disconnect there for me. And I think another thing that like really turns me away from it is like I just don't find the world that interesting. Like literally like going out into the open environments is just kind of all the same trees and rocks and like a cave with like an enemy in it, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't spark joy in me, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you gotta spark joy.
Yeah.
But that entire conversation regarding party members is definitely something we will touch on later with our game of the week. Yeah. But until then, should I talk about Boltgun?
Well, first let's go to the 7 out of 10 games that you love, because I think that's a very interesting topic, actually.
Oh, well, maybe it could be a Backlog Banter video.
That's true.
Sometime.
That's true. I don't want to drag down the DDC, the legendary.
No. I mean, like, there's a lot of 7 out of 10 games. We talk like Daydreamcast has covered 7 out of 10 games. I think War of the Monsters was a 7 out of 10 game that Murph loved. I think there's just a lot.
Don't know why
those.
You're putting up games I like as 7 out of 10. Like you can choose some of your own.
Oh well, my games are all 10 out of 10. That's the issue. No, like God Hand. I think God Hand would be an example of a 7 out of 10 game that is amazing. Technically, it's a 3 out of 10 game according to IGN, but there's still. But it goes back to what Tucker said regarding identity. Is at the very least, there's something that spoke to you about the game.
Yeah. I'm looking at my list of favorite games, and the honest to God truth is, if I love a game, I feel no qualms about saying it's a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, because that's the point of a fucking video game: is to speak to you, is to create joy, is to create memories, and if a game does that, that's a great game. That's a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. But I mean, just looking at the ones that I love that other people might find a little bit lower quality, last year actually, another Capcom game, Capcom's last major release, if you want to use major in big air quotes, Exoprimal, I absolutely adored. And that is a game that's getting like, or that got, no one talks about it anymore, they got like 6 out of 10s and stuff. And I was addicted to that game for like 2 weeks, man. I loved Exoprimal.
And I think that's super important. Like, Exoprimal would be an excellent example of that.
Totally.
Because it fosters the multiplayer experience. It did exactly what it set out to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Oh, and another one, the year before, Sonic Frontiers, a game that I just absolutely just got super locked into. I platinumed it. It's easily my favorite Sonic game without a fucking shadow of a doubt.
Oh my gosh.
And I adored that game, but obviously, I mean that is a flawed ass game. So there's another very good example.
Murph, do you have any that you want to volunteer for yourself?
I've already said it multiple times. It's Days Gone, and I can't
sure.
defend that opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's what I have no experience with, so I can't clap back on that. But I do want to get to it eventually.
No.
We'll do it. We'll do an episode. I'd be down for a Days Gone episode.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Days Gone cast.
Days Gone cast. Daydream's gone. All right. Boltgun. Guys, Boltgun is fun. I saw Cal talking about it, and I realized that last year. What? Cal.
He met it at the crossroads, and it said one to the right you can play Boltgun. To the left you can play that other Warhammer 40k shooter game that came out.
I was gonna say the thing is the Warhammer 40k stuff is starting to blend together for me. I'm not a fan, but I'm like on the periphery of it.
They have a lot out right now. There's so much Warhammer about.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it. I get the appeal. I think it's like, okay, sure. But like, with the amount of media there is, it starts to all blend in together. But anyways, Calvin Kempf, host, or like, head honcho of the Twin Geeks site, he was playing Boltgun. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, I realize this exists now. So I played it. He called it a Doom-like. I think that is a misrepresentation exactly. I think by this point in the boomer shooter genre, I think most games are taking after Quake. Especially regarding the 3D environments. I just did PAX East last week, and I played the sequel to Ion Fury, which is called Phantom Fury, and that was much more like, Ion Fury was build engine representative of Duke Nukem 3D, and then Phantom Fury is a lot more like if Duke Nukem Forever came out in 2005, or like, kind of like a Half-Life 2, but with, PS1-esque graphics. It's stuff like that where I feel like the genre is going forward. And you see that in Boltgun. I like the melee aspects. I like the art and the aesthetic. It definitely feels like Doom in the rip and tear sense. But I think the big thing I took away from it is there's yellow paint in the game. And it made me wonder. I was like, oh, it was actually super helpful. I'm not going to lie. Because everything is like dark and drab, and like the color would be on the enemy's armor or like the creatures or whatever. So regarding environment design, the yellow paint was sorely needed. And I remember like a year ago, Murph talking to me about like how difficult sometimes area design and location design could be in the older boomer shooter games like in Doom or in Quake. And I think those could be solved with yellow paint. I am a yellow paint fan.
No, I was making a joke. I have nothing against yellow paint. I think people complaining about it don't understand how game design works. And so sure, especially in a game that's dark, that would be very, very useful. I think it's funnier when it's like there's nowhere to go and there's still yellow paint. That's, I think,
like Final Fantasy VII, where it's like it's a mountain and then they put yellow paint on it.
Yeah.
I mean, Boltgun, I like the gunplay. I like the different guns. They're not super inspired. They're not gonna change the trajectory of game design or anything. It's, a shotgun. It's this or that. The main thing is the melee attack thing. And I think there's a class system where you can swap soldiers, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. So we'll see after that. But they have unique abilities where they can, like, the guy I played just charges forward. And that's super useful for speed.
I say it's the thing, like, you beat the game and then you unlock a new class, and then you play through it as that class, and then you unlock a new class.
I'm guessing it's like that because when you start the new game, it fills you in on the specific class attributes. So it's like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. So yeah, no, again, it's on Game Pass. So if you're even curious about the game, I would check it out. I'm going to keep playing it. I don't know how long I'm going to play it for, but it looks to be strong, respectable entry in the genre.
Okay, you know what Boltgun sounds like? It sounds like a late addition to an ongoing franchise of mechanical creatures.
Boltgun does seem like the bad version of Scrap Trap.
Yeah.
Look at this transition.
You stretched for that one, but I'll give it to you.
No, I think he's right. I'm Murph. I'm siding with you. You're right. That does sound like a.
William Afton used the bolt gun to cause the bite of 87.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Tucker, you played Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Tell me about it.
Well, so I've been thinking a little bit recently about genres of games that are super popular that I do not have a ton of experience with. I'm on the periphery. I've heard of a couple of the entries, but because I'm mostly a console player, because I mostly gravitate towards a certain kind of genres, I don't play too much on Steam. There are certain genres of games that are incredibly popular that I've just kind of not engaged much with. Fodian games are a genre that I've dabbled in, but I've never gotten super into them. I don't think it'd be one I'd be into, but like, Pogo Stuck and getting over it, and just recently a very difficult game about climbing. And then Mascot Horror is another thing that I have very, very little experience with, and because it is so popular and prevalent, I know, Murphy, you've mentioned Mascot Horror a couple times. I wanted to get a little bit of experience with that so I can more succinctly incorporate that knowledge into like my general gaming knowledge, because it's something that is important to the modern gaming ecosystem. And obviously Five Nights at Freddy's is the popular progenitor of that. There were games before that in that style that it was drawing inspiration from, but I think it'd be fair to say that Five Nights at Freddy's is really what kicked off the popularity of that subgenre of horror. And I had played Five Nights at Freddy's. I had played the first 2 or 3 games on my phone when they came out. And
that sounds awful.
Oh, that's where they originated on Steam, but they were also on mobile like almost immediately. So that's just where I thought that's just how you played them. And from what I remember, they were fine. But I had played it almost a decade ago at this point, and so I barely remembered anything. And I was thinking about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm like, I don't want to play this on my phone, because I agree, bro. Thinking about it now, I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? Why didn't I just play this instead? And so I bought it on Steam for $5, very affordable game. And I sat there. I started at like 10:30 at night, so I was trying to get in the mood. And I also just wanted to like get on it immediately. I didn't want to like put it off. So I bought it. I downloaded it on Abram's computer because I don't have a PC on my own. I have a Mac, and it doesn't run on Mac. And that game it's not that long. Probably took me like an hour and 20 minutes to go through all 5 nights. But that game is harder than I remember it being.
It is.
It gets pretty stressful. And I got to be honest, I enjoyed the heck out of Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't think it's amazing, but I think that there's a lot of really interesting small design decisions there that are great in atmosphere, and with a couple simple mechanics, I think it really builds tension effectively, and I can totally understand why it was people gravitated towards it and why it kicked off a subgenre. It's just a good horror game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is one of the best Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know how great that is or how golden praise that is. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'd rate it out of 10, but I think it is a satisfying experience for what you play. The one thing that, the 2 things that I always say, the first take I usually have is I think it's very forward thinking in design because it feels like a spectator single player game. It feels like a game meant for Let's Plays and streaming first, and then the people who play it have a different experience. And then the other thing just recently dawned on me is, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like Pac-Man, in which the ghosts...
Absolutely. I was thinking about that when I was playing it. Yeah. There's 4 enemies for you to defend against that move in slightly different patterns.
And you're trying to figure out how they're different, but it's never communicated how different they are. So you're like, okay, let me figure it out. And you're just trying to figure it out. I definitely see the Pac-Man resemblance, for sure.
Well, and I think that is what I was talking about in terms of subtle design decisions that I think keep it engaging, is the idea of this being a super cheap game in terms of it's not graphically intensive. It's really just cutting between still images. But because of the structure of looking through the security cameras and the animatronics moving at different speeds and in different patterns, it's able to create so much life in these four animatronics that you're defending against that you feel like you need to deal with them slightly differently. And it gives them a kind of personality that I think if someone played a shitload of Pac-Man, they would read that kind of personality into the ghosts. I think that's a lot harder to
for sure,
ghosts apart. But the fact that Body comes in on the left side, Chica comes in on the right side, you have to keep checking in on Foxy to make sure he doesn't get out. And then Foxy charges down the hall at you if you mess up, and Freddy's like kind of saved to like the end of the game, so he's kind of just like waiting there in the dark for like the first 2/3 of the game. I mean,
he's an extra juggling thing to add to the end to make things 10 times worse. Absolutely.
And I just think it's really, I thought it was really smart, and also the balancing of how much power you have versus defending just barely against the four animatronics is immaculately balanced. You are always on the fucking edge. You're always looking at that on the meter at the bottom corner and like, oh god, if I'm only like 1 hour in, I need to have only used 15%, but I've already used 20. It's like, oh, where am I going to make up this time later? Somehow they balance the power versus time mechanic, which is like basically the only real mechanic in the game. They balance it so well that you're always your butthole's always puckered in that game.
Are you gonna play the others? Like, is this a series thing?
Well, I think I'll probably just play the first four.
That's fair.
Not imminently, but over the course of time. Because again, I did play 2 and 3, a decade ago at this point. But I don't remember anything about them. So
I would personally recommend playing the first 4. I mean, like Sister Location and the pizza game, the FNAF 6. Those are like kind of worth it, but not really. To me, the first 4 are like the ones to experience. And I think what's really cool though is that they all have the same base idea. But they all have fundamentally different mechanics and vibes to them. So I think that is really cool. And for that, I really respect it. And then I respect FNAF 1 for being simple and effective.
Yeah. I was just excited to give it a genuine critical look as someone who's outside of that genre. Because it really is a franchise and a game that has just been memed to death. And so it almost doesn't seem like a real game. It seems like, one of those, crappy things that just spun off and was cheap and all that. But I mean, Scott Cawthon designed a genuinely tense and satisfying horror game, so I'm here to sing its praises.
I think a lot of FNAF's cred comes from the fact that it is actually like a difficult game in the final nights.
Sure, yes,
like it's something where you can think like, oh, that's a game for children because the fan base is predominantly children, but that's because they watch streamers do it. And then you like sit down and play it for yourself, and it's like, oh no, Freddy got hands. He
does got hands, yeah.
And getting past the final night does feel like a triumph. It's like a sigh of relief.
Oh, it absolutely was. Yeah. I was texting my friends as I was playing through it, and I'd be like, well, just failed night 4 again. Well, just failed night 4 again. And then I would get to night 5, and I think it probably took me 10 tries, something like that. And it would be where I would be getting to, in-game 30 minutes left in the night or whatever, and something would charge out at me, and I would have to restart, like, oh my god. And I learned that the nights, I believe, are like 9 minutes almost exactly. So I would start a timer on my phone just so I knew how much.
So funny.
So knew how much time I had left. Which like I was like looking down at my phone, making sure the time, like, but that kind of gave me something else to focus on, which increased the tension. So I had a very good experience playing through Five Nights at Freddy's.
I see. I don't put the timer on. I instead just look. I just stare at the clock in the bottom, and I just like try to make it move. You know what I mean?
You're like, and it's 2 a.m. now.
Telepathically, just like.
Yeah, it's like
no, that's how you get Golden Freddy to possess you.
Golden Freddy came into my game one time, and I don't know how, and I don't know why, but it was weird.
Oh, spooky! I think it's rare too, so that was an experience for you. All right, what was the next thing? Oh, guys, I played Guilty Gear Strive and Pizza Tower. They have updates.
They have character updates. New playable characters.
You can play as new characters. So for Guilty Gear Strive, they added ABBA. I don't know if any of you know what that means.
It's about damn time that that group got their fighting game cred. I want to see them pull out the Dancing Queen. I want to see them pull out the Man After Midnight.
Yep, Waterloo. I think Waterloo's no, but seriously, a lot. There was like 20 people on Twitter that were popping off after the announcement. ABBA is a fan favorite Guilty Gear character, but it's a very niche fighting game character in that she has a meter and she has to go into a stance to go into Jealous Rage. Basically, in the normal game, she's awful. She's really, really bad. She's slow. Her attacks don't do very well, but she builds meter, like a very specific kind of meter, and when the meter gets high enough, you can go into a different mode, and that mode is really, really good. And
sounds like a Smash Ultimate DLC character.
Yes.
That would be very similar. Yes, 100%. And I don't like her.
But can you fix her?
All that build up. What's up?
Can you fix her?
No, she's mentally, she's lost. If I thought I could fix Elfelt, you cannot fix ABBA. ABBA's like obsessed with keys. She's insane. Literally, her mode is called Jealous Rage, and hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. The thing is playing as her, it doesn't feel effective. It feels like you're trying to... Guilty Gear Strive is a very hard, difficult game, and a lot of people can do their game plans immediately, and ABBA has to wait for her game plan to happen. Murph, you play Street Fighter 6, so it's like Lily with the wind stocks.
Yes.
Where it's like you have to wait for the ability to do what you want instead of just doing what you want, which some characters can do easily. So then you're sitting there and you're going, fuck. And then on the other end of it, I play Axel, which means that I am a character that wants to be on the opposite side of the screen, and I want you to get the fuck away from me. So when I fight an ABBA has some abilities that allow her to gain meter when I hit, but otherwise, she is struggling to get in. And then when she activates, she still has to get in. And she's fast, but if my, punch or my 2H or whatever connects, she's still on the other side of the fucking screen, and she loses all of her meter, and she's back to square one. And then I'm just like, wow, that really sucks for you. I'll take the win, though. So, I don't know where we're at. I feel like she is on the lower end of the character balance tiers.
How does it feel when a fighting game adds a DLC character that's high execution like that? Does it... Because sometimes, I appreciate complex fighting game characters. I'll never play them. But I can see for someone that's really in it to win it, they would kind of feel like a waste of a DLC character. It's like, oh, this is a character that no one's going to play.
Well, it really depends on, number one, balance. So, for instance, we could look at the same game, Guilty Gear Strive, and look at one of the most complex characters ever, and his name's Asuka. And he does things... He has like a card deck thing. Basically, you're drawing cards, and they all equal different spells. And the different spells you have to balance and rearrange and utilize mid-match. And he was top tier. He was the best character in the game for months. And the secret there is he started out poor, but people eventually figured him out. And people eventually were like, oh, I know what to do now. I know how to focus. They learn, if you want to play the character, you will learn the character. But I still don't think ABBA has the tools to win. Asuka, when he got good, it was like, oh yeah, I can now summon a bajillion cubes and projectiles, and you can't do anything. And ABBA doesn't have that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But she just came out, so there's time to learn.
True. She could get better, but I guess the ultimate thing is when she turns, into Jealous Rage mode, she becomes really good at rush down and has high damage. But you know who else has good rush down and high damage?
Soul Bad Guy.
So you should just play Soul Bad Guy. And then also I played Pizza Tower. And Pizza Tower, this is a lot lighter. I don't have to talk super in depth about it. They added the Noise, which is a boss in the vanilla game, but you can play as him. And he's fun. He's different. He's kind of a parody of the Noid for Dominoes.
Oh, you don't say that's what he is.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just figured the trivia. All right, I'm sorry. I'll just stop talking now.
I'm looking up an
No,
image
tell
of
us about the
Noise.
noise. Give us the noise lore.
The Noise lore is that I think he's like an actor pretending to be the Noise, and he works for like a channel station. Pizza Tower lore is complex and weird.
Okay. How many
calls
dead
back to
children are involved? The more dead children, the more complex the lore.
We're not going to get into that at that moment. But I will say, in terms of gameplay, the Noise has a skateboard. He's a lot more speed focused, but he has less combat opportunities. And he also has a much more difficult wall tech. He can climb walls, but it's different. You have to operate a skateboard, and you can do a lot of stuff with the skateboard. And you have a lot of other like cool, like gimmicky stuff. But if there's a reason why he's unlocked after you beat the game as Peppino, because his base kit is very different, and you will be struggling initially as him.
Okay, so you say he's pretty fast, but I think of Pizza Tower as a fast game to begin with, especially at optimal level. So how much faster are we talking?
Maybe not literally faster, but you'll always want to be on your skateboard, or you'll always want to be moving. There's times where Peppino will want to do the Wario grab thing, because Pizza Tower is also fundamentally a Wario game. So like you grab, but the Noise doesn't necessarily want to do that because his like attack things kind of suck. So
you're not getting in. You have to work around enemies rather than blowing through them.
You'll be much more likely to avoid an enemy rather than trying to engage them at all. Yes,
which is weird because you're supposed to avoid the noise.
Yes, exactly. Murph, you've got it.
I've unlocked it.
There you go. But anyways, Tucker.
Hello.
You've played
Speaking
Princess
of actors
Peach
putting
Showtime.
on costumes and pretending to be other
hell
people.
yeah.
Murph, you're so good at these transitions. How do you do it?
That's why you keep me on.
Give us a 10-minute breakdown of how you do it. What's going on in that sick mind of yours?
I put on the podcaster costume, much like Princess Peach in Princess
There we
Peach
go.
Showtime.
Which now Tucker is going to talk about. Princess Peach Showtime, yeah. This is the only original game that Nintendo has put out in the last 5 months. And by that metric, I was excited for it. I'm like, this is a new idea. It's a new genre. Peach getting her own game for the first time in 20 years. That's awesome. Good Feel, as it was revealed, is the one making it. I like Good Feel's games. I'm a big defender of Crafted World. Yoshi's Crafted World. I love Kirby's Epic Yarn. I really like Woolly World. So they're a good developer. But I have to say, Princess Peach Showtime is easily their weakest game, in my opinion. This is a game that is different for the sake of being different, but I don't think it works because of that. It is sold on a sense of variety in that Peach has 10 plus different transformations she can turn into, and she's always going to these different locations. Sometimes she's a ninja, sometimes she's a sword fighter, sometimes she's a cowgirl. It has a sense of visual variety, which I like, and I think the game looks good. The textures are great, the lighting is good, I like the animation, but I mean, for a game that is gameplay first, it's a Mario game. There's not much of a story to speak of. The gameplay is not very good. It is basically, I liken it mostly to something like to 2D brawler like Streets of Rage, where you're just using an attack to defeat some enemies in like a pseudo 3D space. Or like a slightly 3D space. It's certainly not a platformer, and it isn't very good at that because all the enemies die in basically one hit, which means that you can never really get into some sort of combo flow or anything like that. And also the variety I found was pretty surface level in that, yeah, there are 10 transformations, but I would say only like 3 of them offer a actually distinct gameplay concept, those being the baker, Peach, the mermaid, and the detective. But everything else is just kind of a one-button action game where you're just defeating enemies. And so it kind of makes a lot of it feel samey. And yeah, I just think that it has ideas that it doesn't flesh out. And ultimately the game ends up feeling surface level. And you can say that a lot about the simplicity of Goodfield's other games. They're making Kirby and Yoshi games primarily, but those games had a lot more underneath the surface if you were trying to go for collectibles. I mean, the collectibles in Crafted World and Epic Yarn especially, I think, are fantastic. There's a lot of hidden areas. There's lots of puzzles. Their environments are so intricately designed. And Showtime, because it is literally just linear, like you're just walking down these hallways, as I said, kind of Streets of Rage style, there's not really anywhere to hide things. So you kind of just get most of them just through playing, like beating a little in-game boss or like moving a box or whatever. And so it even takes away the excitement or intrigue that Goodfield's other games have in terms of their collectibles, which was the saving grace of those other games. So yeah, I think it is just a slightly below average game. The gameplay's not great, which is especially important because it's not a game with a compelling narrative or particularly interesting structure. It's just these 7-minute levels that end up feeling a little bit repetitive, and it's over in 5 or 6 hours. So I mean, it's not like it's a waste of your time, but especially given it's the first original Nintendo published game in the last 5 months, I'm like, God damn, I was hoping for something a little meatier.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so two things here that I want to. I'm looking at footage now. I'm hearing you describe this game. I did not realize this was a brawler. I thought they changed gameplay.
Do you agree with me though? It's mostly a brawler from what you can see.
Yes, I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, okay. So two things. Number one, is this meant for like younger audiences?
Absolutely. But it's intended for younger audiences, and I would say the negative way, and not in the way that I would say most Nintendo games are for all.
Like Kirby can be for younger audiences, but there's still meat on the bones for people that want to look for other things.
In some Kirby games, I also dislike strongly most Kirby games. I think there are a few that are generally very good. But
is there a better example of a kid? Oh, I guess you just said it, like Woolly World and all that.
Yeah, I mean those even. I think people would also consider those like a little bit too kiddie. I would disagree a little bit, but I would say even just like 3D Mario games, right? Like 3D Mario games are very accessible, and especially some of the more recent ones with the multiplayer where you can like rescue their friend if they'd fall off a cliff or whatever. Those are very accessible and easily that can teach a younger audience how to get into video games, but also those just have really good gameplay. It is fun to play Super Mario Odyssey. You're doing dive rolls and you're jumping on Cappy. That just has really good movement, and also there's great collectibles and a ton to do, and it has like a good substance to it. And the worlds feel radically different, which is something that I would say is not true in Showtime. But I think a lot of Nintendo games fall into that camp of, look, this is for all ages, but there's that depth there that keeps people our age and older coming back to them over time. And Showtime, and I would say some of the weaker Kirby games, don't fall into that camp for me, where it's like, I really don't think there's much to engage with if you're not playing this as an entry-level video game, which obviously I'm not. I've played hundreds and hundreds of video games, and so it ended up being a little bit disappointing for me.
What Showtime has reminded me a lot through its press cycle and the reviews is like a slightly higher production level-wise, higher level like TV show tie-in game, like a cartoon show you would play back on the PS2 or something.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I mean, luckily it has like the animation and visual quality that you expect out of other first-party Switch games. I'm not discounting that at all. I think it looks very good, and frankly, I was surprised that it was Goodfield, because Goodfield's games have always looked great, but they've been a lot more stylized. This game goes for the cartoony realism that other Mario games do. Other games that Mario games that look really good, like the Switch Mario Party games are amazingly animated games. The lighting engine and the textures in those games, even like Super Mario Odyssey, Peach goes for those. And so I actually thought my first assumption is that it was Next Level Games making it, because it has the animation quality and the little cutscenes and everything and the lighting engine that Luigi Mansion 3 did. So I thought that it was Next Level, but it was Goodfield. So
Oh, wow.
egg on my face.
Well, no, I mean, like, the something about it, like, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of getting tired of the, like, house style. I mean, I think, like, Luigi's Mansion 3 and, like, this level of production totally works. But, like, for instance, I played the remake of Mario versus Donkey Kong. And,
Absolutely,
like,
that's a perfect example.
to me, I was like, oh, this is kind of ugly.
Yeah.
And, like, it's kind of rough. And I don't even think it was the Switch. I literally think it's the style.
Absolutely.
I was like, man, oof. But the other thing I wanted to say regarding this Peach game is, you know what this is reminding me of as you're talking about these concerns and how the gameplay is formatted? Have y'all ever played the Treasure Wario World game?
Wario World
Treasure
GameCube.
War-
Yes, actually, that is a very good example. I would say that Wario World. I actually don't like Wario World very much. I played it last year, and I found similar problems of combat not that interesting and world design not that interesting. Also, has a really weird structure where you have to like find chests in order to progress and like.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like it feels like it's almost an inverse, but there are definitely like major problems with Wario World as well. For me, the problems with Wario World was like variety.
Yeah.
So like the enemies weren't there. Like all the enemies were the fucking same, and all this. Yeah. There were some
also
combat.
very true with Showtime, by the way.
Oh, that's fair.
You're just fighting these like purple-headed night guys like the entire goddamn game.
Yeah, but like there was some interesting stage elements and also those collectibles. What you were talking about with the collectibles, Wario World did do that, where you would go into a thing, try to collect crystals and do like weird puzzly elements or find different elements of the thing, but it was still lacking in a lot of ways. And I feel like Peach is a companion in that they didn't get it right. You know what I mean? Like, it's right enough, I guess. But for someone who's, like, experienced, it's like, I wish this was more.
Yep, that's a great, succinct way to describe what I was feeling. And Abram and I actually had a really good conversation about why we felt the game was weak. It has not actually gone up yet, but it's going to be a YouTube video that goes up in the next couple days. But, yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointment, and I think especially considering, as I said again, there's not a lot of new stuff coming out of Nintendo, and so I was excited for this game just out of the idea of like this could be a new sub-series, like in the way that Luigi's Mansion or Captain Toad became like distinct gameplay sub-series for those characters. And I love Luigi's Mansion and Captain Toad. I think those are some of the best games Nintendo's ever made. And I was hoping for this to be another one of those, a new Mario spin-off that gives Peach her own series, that diversifies the lineup a little bit. And it is, but it's just not as good as those other games. Like Captain Toad and Luigi's Mansion 3 are some of the best games on Wii U and Switch, respectively. So, yeah, this is not bad. But we have Endless Ocean in a little over a month, so another original Nintendo game coming out soon.
Well, we'll look forward to it. But until then, we talked to just one Mario spin-off, but I think we're ready for the Variety Minute, everybody. This week's Variety Minute is Mario spin-offs. This is a very broad topic that I am sure we will talk about again one day. But how do we feel about Mario spin-offs?
Do we want to start in a specific place, or are we just kind of like going generally?
Let's start general vibe. Because, like, here's my take on Mario spin-offs. I love baseline Mario series.
Yeah.
But what makes Mario so special as a franchise is its extensive supporting cast and Nintendo's creativity. So with those, Mario spin-offs really shine. I don't like sports games. Mario sports games are really fun. You know what I mean? Like, it all works.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what I like so much about Mario spin-offs, even though I would say there aren't very many that I truly, truly love. I think that, as I mentioned earlier, Captain Toad and Luigi's Mansion 3, I think are are two of the best Mario spin-offs. I think they feel a little bit more substantial, especially because those two games have a gameplay style that no other video game has, and it makes them feel very distinct. But what I respect so much about the bulk of Mario spin-offs is that they end up being Nintendo-ified versions of other game genres. You get the sports games, you get the racing games, you get the party games, and they all end up feeling coherent in some ways and like good introductory level games, and because of their a little bit simpler visual style, they're more appealing to a wider audience. And so I don't really like racing games. Frankly, I know this is heresy. I don't really love Mario Kart, but Mario Kart is my favorite, one of my favorite racing games. Sure. I don't really like sports games, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed what I played of Mario Tennis Aces and you know, a couple of the other ones, and so I really do respect and appreciate Mario spin-offs for that reason. But it's the ones that are really distinct that end up sticking with me, not the Mario Karts and the Mario Sports and the Mario Parties. Like obviously those are the prolific ones, but it's the more weirder ones that I think jump out to me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think what do we qualify like Donkey Kong Country as a Mario spin-off? Is WarioWare a Mario spin-off? Yoshi's Island, like, you know, these are all characters that originated in Mario, but they have very much taken on a life of their own.
Yeah.
They're so, like, I would consider Wario Land that, but I would not consider WarioWare, but that's because it's become a franchise unto themselves. It's shocking how they become franchises unto themselves.
Yeah. I mean, WarioWare has its own gameplay style, but also its own cast. I mean, Mario, as far as I know, Mario's never been in a WarioWare game. Like, you don't...
He's been in the games.
Yeah, sure. Like,
Yeah.
But, like, those are, like, craft versions of Mario. Like,
But so is Pikmin, so it's like not...
Sure, yeah. Animal Crossing New Horizons is in one of these games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Animal Crossing is not canon to WarioWare. I guess it is.
That's fair.
Actually. Because
Oh.
it's like the 9 Volt levels, where 9 Volt's playing video games. So, like, all other Nintendo games are canon.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Look,
mm-hmm.
let me ask, do you think, Tucker, because of the genre thing, where it's like, oh, I don't like racing games, but I like Mario Kart, is it because it's more approachable, or is it because it has a different take? Because Mario Kart does, like, its drift thing, or do you think it's just the aesthetic and the fun approach Nintendo does? Like, what do you think it is?
Well, I think I could actually tie this a little bit back to what I was mentioning earlier about Dragon's Dogma, is that I think personality is a big thing for me. I mean, I respect more realistic racing games and realistic sports games for going for what they're going for. There's an audience for that. There's simulation. That's totally acceptable. And then great for what they're going for. But for me, in order to hook me in a little bit more, I want something that feels a little bit more creative and distinct. And when you're driving around... Like that DLC Yoshi's Island map that they added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just, it's gorgeous, it's unique, it's taking a different artistic style, and I'd much rather be driving on like Coconut Mall or Maple Tree Way than fucking England from Horizon 4.
Yeah, yeah. I think like the personality, like when I think of Mario as a setting, a lot of the information comes from the spin-off games. Like, man, I would just love to, like, a Mario Kart, get out your cart and just walk around in these environments sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You know?
Maybe that's what Mario Kart 9 or 10 or whatever they're going to call it is.
Yeah. When I was younger, I always had the idea of, like, the Mario World game where it's, like Wii Sports Resort where you can walk around and it's like, oh, here's the kart racing track and you can do Mario Kart. Here's the golf course where you can do Mario Golf.
Wow, yeah.
You know? I don't think they would ever do that because that's merging too many games into one that they could just sell
I don't think
separately.
that's technically feasible, to be completely honest. I mean, that is kind of like what they want to do with, like, the Disney World that Epic is working on for Fortnite. Like, that is maybe that kind of thing.
Or like Nintendo Land did kind of that,
that's a good
but
point,
different.
actually, yeah.
But they wouldn't because Mario Kart is a game and Mario Golf is a game, right? They couldn't make Metroid Land a game. You know what I mean?
And also because all of these games, especially the spin-offs, almost none of them are developed in-house by Nintendo. Mario Kart is really the only one that is an in-house Nintendo game developed by one of their EPD groups. I believe that's EPD 10. But the golf games and tennis games are handled by Camelot, and the party games are handled by Hudson Soft and then ND Cube. And so like there becomes this lineage where Nintendo doesn't really actually handle the spin-offs for most of their games. And Mario Kart's actually just so big that it's almost not even a spin-off at a certain point. But I think the dichotomy is very interesting, that they actually they aren't the one making those games. And they actually have never been. I mean, Camelot and Hudson Soft developed the original golf and party games and tennis games for N64 and Game Boy. So like they've been around for a long time.
I just want to say, like, those versions where it's like a pseudo RPG with the sports things, those are super fun. I love those.
Now, question: did you play the Mario Golf Super Rush single player mode? Because that might change your mind. That is a terrible mode.
I did not play Super Rush. Which one's Super Rush?
That's the golf Switch game.
I didn't play the Switch. Oh.
Yeah, the only good idea that game has is running mode. I can't remember what it's called. It has this mode where you run between your balls instead of just
it's like a racing mode with golf.
It's an interesting idea, but it's not very well fleshed out.
Yeah, it's like kind of like as I was saying with the world of Mario. It's like if you only look at the mainline Mario releases, there is so much that like I associate with Mario that isn't in there. Like,
correct.
Waluigi.
Yep.
Not in a mainline Mario game. He might as well not be canon. It's kind of like if you follow wrestling. It's like you have the WWE and then you have NXT where all like the up and comers are, and then once like someone does well in NXT, they promote them to the WWE, and that's a big deal. And that was me when Daisy was playable in Mario Wonder. It's like, oh my god, she's real.
Well,
Daisy was real since the beginning because she was in Super Mario Land 2.
Well, but has she been in since?
No, actually, she was in Super Mario Land 1.
You're right. My bad.
But
continue.
Interestingly enough, I think actually Murph makes a good point about some of those characters that you don't associate with main Mario games because they have more than the vast majority of their appearances have been in spin-off games. Daisy and Wario started, yes, as mainline Mario characters in Land 1 and Land 2, but then they were just in sports games and racing games, and obviously Wario has his own sub-series, but there's a lot of Wario games.
Yes.
And when you think about something like Bowser's entire personality, like Jack Black Bowser in the movie, that's nothing really pulled from the mainline games. That's all his appearances in the RPG titles, like Paper Mario, Super Mario RPG, Mario and Luigi.
Yep.
Yeah, those are definitely some of the major spin-offs. One other major spin-off I say major in heavy air quotes, by the way. One of the other major spin-off series is my favorite Mario spin-off. It's sub-series is Dr. Mario.
I love Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario's really good.
The three best
games.
It's
one of my favorite puzzles.
Dr. Mario 64, and Dr. Mario World on iOS, but you can't play that anymore. But I fucking love that.
You can play as 3 Goombas in a coat.
You can. I love Dr. Mario World. I am the world's biggest Dr. Mario World defender.
How do you feel about Dr. Luigi?
From the year of Luigi.
That's a weird thing, but the DS, Wii U, and 3DS Dr. Mario era games I think are the worst because they really end up just being visually bland, basically carbon copy versions of what came before without much new. Obviously, Dr. Luigi is something new because you have the L-shaped pills mode. That's the main draw of that game, but that's just less fun than Dr. Mario. It just handles worse.
Yeah.
So no, I don't like Dr. Luigi very
much. How do we feel about Mario and Sonic
at the Olympics? That is a weird thing.
What a bizarre spin-off. Because it's like, there's so much hype around Mario and Sonic, and then the spin-off series that they unite in is a fucking Olympic party game once every 4 years. It's like, okay.
I mean, can you imagine, though, if there was like an actual platforming crossover where, even if it's just like kind of an aesthetic thing, where there's like Sonic loop-de-loop ass levels, but they're set in Mushroom Kingdom aesthetics.
Yeah, we call it the Mario Sonic Power Hour.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I mean, even something like how Link was playable in Super Mario Maker 2, that kind of crossover of using Link's abilities in a 2D platformer was so interesting and novel. And if it was Sonic with his speed trying to get through like slipperier Mario levels or something, like I think there'd be something really cool there. But they're probably never gonna do that.
No, I'm not gonna lie. My personal belief is that Nintendo actually doesn't like Sonic games, and they're like, well, we like Sonic. We can just put him in a party game. Who gives a fuck? Like that's what they'll agree to.
But the thing is, it's not Nintendo. It's Sega.
Well,
Sega makes those games.
Sega makes those? Well, no, I'm saying that Nintendo allows that to happen rather than saying, yes, Sega, you can make a Mario game with Sonic. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to do that. Well, they don't want Sega to make a platformer.
In the way that they gave Ubisoft Mario to make the Mario & Rabbids games, it's like, those aren't Mario games. They're something totally different. It's just
but at the very least with those Rabbids games, I think that was also a very inspired request. Because I remember when they talked about the development of it, it's like the guy who made that, or like the team who made that, went to Miyamoto and like the Nintendo thing and was like, let me show you with models how this would work. And they were like, okay. And it's so bizarre to think of a Mario in a tactics game, but it works.
Yeah.
I think a lot about like the rosters of these games, because it's like, Mario Kart 7, you can play as the Queen Bee from Mario Galaxy, and it's like, oh, what a deep cut reference. Yeah. And I feel like these days there's not so much that transfer back and forth between the mainline titles and the spin-offs, because I think about Mario Odyssey, and how there are all these unique, interesting places with all these new critters and creatures, and none of those have appeared as like playable in like Mario Kart or the Mario Party games. Why can't I play as a Woody or one of those like snail creatures or realistic human male from New Donk City?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. No, I mean, I think that speaks to me, Nintendo's kind of playing it slightly more safe with these spin-offs. Like, I look at Mario Kart and I think this is, like, if there's any bold risks, it's either the franchise, like, oh, we're adding in Link and the Animal Crossing characters, or it's like the Yoshi's Island thing Tucker said, which is what I hope they do, where they custom tailor tracks to specific game styles. I think that would be the most promising thing they ever do in Mario Kart. But anyways, but looking at the rosters, it's incredibly safe. And if you look at it, it's like, oh, when you look at Double Dash, it was Petey Piranha and King Boo, and they were GameCube enemies. You know what I mean? And that was inspired, but they also became, I don't want to say mainstays, but they became iconic unto themselves.
No,
you know what I mean?
That's definitely fair. And I think that's the proliferation of those characters in that time period that makes them feel a little bit more substantial. Whereas the Brutals from Odyssey, I mean, they're not great characters. They are visually different, but like if those had shown up in the DLC of 8 Deluxe, or if they showed up in Aces or in Super Rush or something, that would have certainly been more interesting. I will slightly defend some of the character choices of the modern like sports games, because I do think there are some good choices. Super Rush actually post-launch got a lot of interesting ones. They have Charge and Chuck, which is crazy, King Baba, Ninja, and Wiggler. Like those are great weird ass picks. Now none of them are like currently relevant. Like why isn't like Nabbit playable or something? But I do think they occasionally, it's a nice little sprinkle on top when they make a weird choice. But I do think they still do it. It's just not foregrounded in the way that I think it was in some of the other older games.
Well, it goes back to like rewind 20 years ago. They had less material to work with. You know what I mean? They were like, well, let's do what we just made, or like what they just, you know what I mean? Like they pulled from everywhere because there was less stuff. And now there's so much stuff and there's so much foundation that they can ignore stuff.
Well, I think that's a little bit, we agree on this, but I think that's unfortunate because I think that a lot of really interesting stuff has happened in the last, let's just say 15 years of the Mario series that could be used in spin-offs to make them even more diverse. I mean, just thinking of I mean, I guess they did like a New Donk City map for Super Rush, which was kind of cool, though it didn't really work that well. But there's so many worlds from Odyssey that you could pull from to make an amazing Mario Kart track. I mean,
Yep.
Or even like
Do you see
3D
the
World or-
Grape Witch from Showtime appearing in later spin-offs?
I mean, if EGAD never got in,
That is fair. That is 100% fair.
Very unlikely.
Well, it's also interesting how like the spin-offs kind of interconnect more than the main series does, because like you'll see in Superstar Saga, one of the Mario RPG games, they have EGAD, they have these characters
really? I didn't
that will
know
pop up again. Or like I think Mario Party 6 or 5 has the star spirits from Paper Mario. So it's very weird how they interconnect and sort of are a separate vibe from the main line.
There's actually only one example of like a currently relevant new character being added to a like mildly recent spinoff, which is when Sprixie was a part of the Ultra Smash launch roster. That was weird.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Those were the little fairies you collected in 3D Land. 3D World, yeah.
Wow.
As a funny poll.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And like I think Murph is right. It's so weird because Odyssey was such an amazing game that felt like such a huge shakeup, but it feels like it like was immediately like, I don't want to say dropped, but like it feels like Bowser's Fury is the future of the franchise now.
It just feels different from how they did it in the GameCube era. Like, go back and listen to our Sunshine Variety Minute where we talked about Mario and the GameCube. And it felt like sort of the Mario brand shifted to being like, oh, this is vacation vibes. And everything is sort of in service of promoting Sunshine, you know? And so we have Shadow Mario as playable in Mario Golf World Tour.
That's so funny.
You know, and things like that.
There was a lot of vacation maps in Double Dash. I don't know if y'all ever noticed that.
That's a pink, gold, peach ass character choice. Though Shadow Mario's like a thing, but
Pink Gold Peach, oh my god. They're gonna make her canon. And then y'all shut up. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Pink Gold Peach should have been a costume in Showtime.
She should have been.
Yeah, it's not. No, yeah. That's very interesting. That's not.
Dropped the ball. How do we feel about Mario Party?
I really liked it. So
Am I the only person that likes Mario Party here?
I like it, I just don't have friends.
I just
That's
didn't
so
grow
sad,
up with that kind of party game, and I also don't like board games, just in general. I find them very uninteresting. And so the waiting the turns and the mini games, I'm like, and the boards, I'm like, I don't really care. I have a very weird and kind of off-kilter interest in Mario Party, is that I actually enjoyed Star Rush and Island Tour on 3DS, playing them by myself. playing against the bots in like the single player modes and just basically being able to just play the mini games, I found was reasonably entertaining and has been the most fun that I've had with Mario Party. But I'm not saying those are the better games. I just had a better experience with them because I'm an irregular Mario Party disenjoyer.
The Mario Party game that I got the most playtime in was Mario Party DS.
I didn't actually play that one at all.
It's neat. It has a gimmick of like you're all shrunk down, so all the mini games are like interacting with normal objects, but you're an inch high.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. I played. Go ahead.
I was going to change the topic slightly, but it's still in the realm of Mario spin-offs, which is
Do it.
I would really love the next Mario Kart game to be a Mario history game in the way that we're talking about wanting representation and cohesion between all the different eras of Mario and like representing stranger characters. I think that if they took the angle of each game across the series, and maybe it's not like all the spin-offs, but each game having a track and a character to represent it, I think that would be, I mean, I like a Sarasaland level for representing Super Mario Land, and Tatanga as a playable character, and like a Super Mario Bros. 2 one where it, you know, like the first level of Super Mario Bros. 2, which has like these weird green hills and like the doors and the radishes and stuff, like that would make an amazing Mario Kart level, and especially Wonder. If there was a level that changed halfway through with a Wonder effect, and Elephant Mario was a playable character, like Can you just?
Oh, hold on,
or
you're
like an
going
8-bit
off.
Mario level. Like what the hell? Like come on, an 8-bit Mario playable. Like oh, God.
And you know something? Like, I think this is an important way to maybe perhaps cap it. I don't know if you all have other thoughts. Oh, no, not me dying. Ah!
Uh-oh.
Wait,
Is that part of the
wait.
lore?
No. You look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and especially post its DLC, and it feels complete. And you look at Smash Ultimate,
Way
I
more
know
than
it's...
complete. That game is breaking its gills, dude. That's a crazy game.
Yeah, and you look at Smash Ultimate, and it is also breaking its gills complete. Like, these are comprehensive, retrospective. It's got everything. It's got anything that you would want, at least, in a Mario Kart track or whatever. Like, I loved it from this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it feels like when these have hit their, I don't want to say peak, but they've done everything.
They've certainly culminated. I would say so in both those examples.
Yeah. So what's next has to, in my opinion, go for something different. You can't just do another culmination.
Yes.
You have to go for a different take. And I don't necessarily know if Nintendo will do that, but I hope so. And I will be excited to see it.
Because here's one thing that I'm sort of future projecting. I think the crazy success of the Switch and basically almost every single game they've put out on it, reinventing their franchises and becoming the highest selling one in each of those levels and critically acclaimed across the board, I think that there is the space for experimentation now that they are this successal. I'm not saying that they're going to just like drop all the main series and stuff, but I think that people understand that like with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom being like a definitive thing, we're gonna need to shift in a new direction for 3D Zelda. With Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being just like every track ever made, and same with Smash Ultimate, like you can't really just do it again with more. I mean, they could, but I think Nintendo still has that spark of creativity where they want to diversify their games and like try something new. That I'm very, very excited for the next entries in all these series, because I felt that a lot of Switch era games have been like the culmination of ideas from all the different series, and there's the space to start that next iteration next time, rather than being like, Odyssey is drawing inspiration from like all the past 3D Mario games, and Breath of the Wild, it was drawing inspiration from across the Zelda series. We can do something totally different next time, and I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I totally
well said.
So
thank you.
So to end it off, are y'all ready for the game of the week? Because we completely ignored Mario RPGs. Do you want to talk Mario RPGs, or do we feel that is a topic more appropriate? Okay.
Well,
Let's get flat,
why
y'all.
I didn't go into it is Paper Mario is the first Mario RPG I've actually played. I mean, I dabbled in like the first few minutes of Superstar Saga, and I played like half of Super Mario RPG Remake last year. But Paper Mario on N64, which is the game of the week today, as you can tell from the title, is the first Mario RPG I've ever beat.
Gosh, I just realized I didn't write an intro for Paper Mario. Ah!
Wing
this
it.
Is like going to school, like the dream where you go to school and there's a test and you did prepare for it.
Wing it, you coward.
All right, yeah, this is the Wing It episode. All right, so Paper Mario is a Nintendo 64 Mario RPG, originally developed by Square, but then it moved to Intelligent Systems as developer, because this was originally going to be like a semi-sequel to Super Mario RPG, but then it became its own thing. And basically, it is a paper-style storybook. I think this game is more focused on like the storybook element here. And and you basically are Mario. You have to get the different star spirits and stop Bowser, and there's a lot of personality to it, but the base gameplay from Super Mario RPG, where you hit somebody and you have to time the hits based on controls for extra damage, all that's still present, and I think that's good enough. Y'all, what did you think of this game?
So before we really get into it, I'm just going to, as a challenge, set a little timer for myself. And I won't address what that's for, but when it comes into play, it will come into play.
It's so Foxy doesn't come down the hallway, I know.
Sure.
You gotta keep checking in. Yep.
Tucker, how do you feel about Paper Mario, your first Mario RPG?
Wait, I thought you were gonna start talking. You said a timer.
No. The timer's planting and payoff. That's Chekhov's timer.
Okay, my bad. All right. Jesus Christ.
Foreshadowing, okay.
I really like this game. I think that there are a couple things that I have small issues with, and it's much more me, I think, hoping for a little bit more narrative cohesion or setup and payoff for this game. But I was surprised how much I liked it. I think that the combat is really smooth, especially once you get a hang of the action button timing. I love that you can attack and defend to increase the effect that you have. I think that probably my favorite element of this game is the fact that each of the partners that you get across the course of the game kind of act as Metroidvania style like abilities, where you can suddenly access new areas and find secrets. I thought that really made the world feel a lot more alive and intricate and interesting than some other RPGs, which most traditional RPGs don't have that kind of unlocking the world as you go thing. And I thought that Paper Mario did a really good job with that, especially once you get the sewers and you can go get the pipes and then travel back to all the old areas and stuff. I thought that it was paced really well. I think no single chapter outstays its welcome. I think I wish I was a little bit shorter. I think by like the 7th Star Spirit, I'm like, okay, I get it. But it's funny. I love the animations. I think that this is probably one of the best visually games on N64 in terms of how well its graphical style holds up.
Absolutely.
This
is probably the best RPG on Nintendo 64, to be honest.
Of very few.
I know people like on Twitter talk about Quest 64, or maybe I think Tactics Ogre's also on the Nintendo 64, but I never played it. I think this is the one. I think this is the best RPG on the Nintendo 64. I think I agree with everything you've said. I think in the scope of things, I am glad I'm glad things took this direction. Regarding Mario RPGs, the party members in particular have such strong personality and are directly tied to one of my problems with Super Mario RPG, I don't mean to trash Gino and I don't mean to trash Mallow, but it's like a novelty. It's like, oh, look how different these characters are from everything you've seen in Mario. But also, I want my Mario game to have Bob-omb. You know what I mean? I like it when the party members do stuff like that. And I love how they all have different functions in combat. And I like how their little different abilities either involve the stick or mashing the button. Or you gotta do some other wacky thing that it's just all so much fun. I love the visual look of this game. It feels very charming, and it's just simple enough to where I love it, but it's also it just has the meat that I particularly like. Another good thing I want to talk about is the badges that I guess we can talk about later on further. But there's enough combat complexity, especially with the bosses or some other encounters, to where you're actually strategizing with your party members.
This is not an easy game.
Badge loadout.
It's absolutely not an easy game because I think that the enemies hit you so hard sometimes. It's
True.
just you get down to a tiny amount of health and you're like, what the hell was I supposed to do? How was I supposed to avoid that? And then eventually you learn if you use Goombario's tattle thing, okay, I can do this to resist damage. I think there's a lot of hidden depth in the mechanics of the battles that is not initially revealed to you, and you have to use tattle and experiment a little bit with different abilities and badges to actually be able to stand a chance. Because especially some of the boss battles, they can hit you pretty hard.
Or you could do that buff in the dry outpost with attack power. There's a lot of ways that I feel like the encounters themselves are puzzles to solve.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not a game where you should be hoarding items. You know,
No, you also have a tiny inventory in this game.
Exactly, and that's to encourage you to
something.
just constantly be using things, especially damaging items. You know, because that saves you flower points, and if you get low on flower points, well, that's another item you're going to have to use to get those back. You know, it's very good at keeping you engaged in the overworld and in the battles themselves, because I think with a lot of turn-based RPGs, it's very easy to go passive, particularly when grinding or going through an area that's just flush with enemies. But because you're constantly on the lookout for little secret items hidden in the foreground, or attacking in the battles actually takes like input from you, not just like selecting the attack, but you have to do like the little mini game to do it, to do extra damage. That's just very good at keeping the player awake, you know?
Yeah, I think that active battle system is one of my favorite turn-based RPG battle systems, in that you are selecting an item. You can wait as long as you want, selecting an attack, but when you are attacking or defending, you have to be actively engaged. And I think I prefer that a little bit more than something like the active time battle in like the Final Fantasy 6 or 7, because I also find those just a little bit confusing of like, okay, when is it this person's turn and like what gets priority? There's no confusion here, but it also maintains the like active engagement where you actually feel like there's a skill to knowing the timing of these things, and you can actually be better at defeating enemies if you are better at the timing of these things and defending against them. I think the defense thing is another thing I really love, in that you can, if you learn the attack patterns of the enemies in a turn-based RPG, you can take less damage, and that's a really cool balance.
Absolutely. And I think what's also cool is the party members don't have a basic health bar.
No.
They can get hit sometimes, and then they'll be out for however many turns.
Yeah, it's
but
like
but otherwise, and they also like, what's also cool is the positioning, right? So sometimes there could be an enemy that's flying, and like that doesn't, like, you can't just hit them. The person has to be able to be aerial. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so, like,
you have to be able to jump or fly.
Yes, exactly. Or like if the enemy has spikes on their head, you can't just jump on him.
Yeah.
Goombario can't just bonk him. You have to use a hammer or have a bomb. You know what I mean? Like, there's just different elements for the different enemy designs, and that's really where the Mario world starts to shine, is where you're seeing the different enemies showcase different design philosophies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's not that they have different defense stats or different attack stats or whatever. You literally have to approach them with different ways, and I think that the combat is just simple enough and just complex enough, because you have jump and you have hammer. Those are basically your only attacks until you get into flower point stuff. But then with the badges, suddenly jump and hammer can be one of 10 different things that attack in slightly different ways. And I think that balance is really cool, because you're not going through 20 different options. And sometimes, especially in things like Final Fantasy 6 or 7, where with materia, you can get, any character can have like one of 70 attacks. You I think are forced to focus on a select but just diverse enough set of attacks to where you're approaching enemies in different ways, because you know, I can't jump on their head. I need to use a hammer. I need to freeze them or put them to sleep first with my abilities. And then there's flower points, and then there's also the star power ones, which I actually didn't really end up using until about like 2/3 of the way through the game, because I just was like, I was saving it for some reason. I don't know why. But then I realized these are really helpful things.
Yes. Yes, and they're also like tailored to the moment, because like I remember playing chapter 1 again, and I was like, man, I didn't realize it, but I kind of need more healing items.
Yeah.
And then after you beat the first boss, you get the star that heals you. And then I don't remember if it was like 4 or 5 or whatever, but it's the one that shoots the stars and it does 7 damage per enemy.
To all of them. Yeah.
That one
I
is
love
literally
that one.
done. That one is literally done right before the Shy Guys, and like all of the Shy Guys have 7 HP.
Yeah.
So it's like perfect for that. So like they literally sculpt it for those moments.
Well, and I think that's also a really cool tutorial thing for the variety of abilities that your partners have, because they're always introduced at the exact right moment where they become very, 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 very useful. Like, you literally cannot get to the next area without them. And then that forces you to like engage with just their mechanic for a little bit. And then once you have a grip on that and you're released back into the open world, or the larger world, and you realize, oh, that's what those docks were for. I can hop on Sushi and go across the water. Oh, I couldn't get that before because I didn't have paracarry, and he can carry me over this little gap. I think it's really cleverly designed in that it teaches its mechanics to you at a really nice pace. Like, you're not overwhelmed at the beginning. Things are really gradually given to you. And it keeps you engaged. Like, it keeps the pacing really, really smart.
Mm-hmm.
Murph, any more thoughts?
Okay, the timer just passed 10 minutes. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. The entire time I'm playing this game, I'm thinking about Thousand Year Door. There, I said it.
Oh my God. He said it. He said the controversial thing.
Now, as someone who, again, this is my first Mario RPG that I've actually played all the way through. I mean, I know Thousand Year Door is the more regarded one, but why is it controversial to say that when you're playing Paper Mario, you're thinking of a direct sequel to Paper Mario?
Yeah. he's just thinking of a better game. That's the thing. Here's the thing: is I get it though, because like when you look at Paper Mario 1, it's like it's simple and it's kind of bare. And Tucker is right; it goes on just like a teensy bit too long. I don't know where you cut. But you could cut.
I think 6-star spirits would have been enough.
Yeah.
Actually, very interesting that that's 7 stars in this and then 7 stars in Super Mario RPG. That's like the one carryover thing. I'm like, there's something going on here.
Yeah, there's a pattern here. No, but also it's like, okay, so, but does Paper Mario excel in anything, especially when you look at all of the Mario RPGs? The answer is actually no. Especially like Thousand Year Door, because I think Thousand Year Old Door does 2 things that completely blows Paper Mario out of the water, which is combat and dialogue. And I do think Paper Mario is a sharply written game, but Thousand Year Old Door is snappier, funnier, full of personality.
Also just a little grimmer.
The remake's coming soon, so I'm excited.
True. Yeah, no, if you like this, you would love Thousand Year Old Door. I just like Paper Mario 64 more, man. I don't know. It's good.
For me, it really comes down to, I think Paper Mario 1 has too many companions, and to be honest, I just don't find them that distinct.
Oh, sure.
It's like, okay.
I think there's one thing that my biggest criticism that I think I can actually fulfill what you're just talking about with, which is I think that they are introduced in good ways, narrative ways, but they basically do not apply to the narrative from that point forward. Like, the only thing that you can get
They finish
is, like,
the one thing and then they're done.
Absolutely. And I mean, they're useful to getting another item or whatever, but I think that the party ends up feeling pretty disjointed. If you're introduced to them in a fun sequence, and then you use them just for their ability or in combat, but narratively, there's no payoff really for, like, Goombario wanting to, like, go on an adventure, or Lackluster, like, his whole thing of, like, Spike and his girlfriend and everything. Like, I feel like there's setups for narrative things for each of these party members, but they're very, very lightly touched upon going forward. I mean, you get, like, the end of the game where, like, it talks about them a little bit, but I think that that's a little bit of a letdown because it feels like it was setting up for that, and then it just never really it never really connected. And then also I think the fact that your party members never interact is a really big missed opportunity. Like, you'll see them interact occasionally in, like, some cutscenes,
but it's bare.
It's very, very spare, and I wish that there was a better sense of, like, the team community that you were building across the thing. Like, what does Lady Bo think about Cooper? Like, I want to know these things because they both have fun personalities and I like their designs and stuff, but there's just no cohesion there because they feel kind of one and done narratively.
Especially since Mario is silent. Because Mario is silent, you really want the personalities of the party members to shine. And they do well enough, but you're right, the interpersonal dynamics would elevate the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For one, I was shocked at how many companions you get so early on in Chapter 1.
Yes, you get 3 companions. You get Goombario, the Koopa, and Bowsette, or the
Bombette.
Yeah.
Bombette, my bad. I said Bowsette, that's funny. But yeah, you get 3 in Chapter 1, and they're very in quick succession, and they don't really have arcs. Like, I mean, I guess Goombario and the Koopa have, like, things to them. The Bomb doesn't.
No.
It's like, I just want out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
And Lady Bo doesn't, and Watt especially doesn't, and Lackluster comes way too fucking late to have any, like...
Yes, he does. And he's a cool... To me, he's a cool part. He's my favorite party member, and, like, his ability's awesome, but he's, like, at the tail end of the game. Yeah. So then it's like, oh, he's kind of fucking useless. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, it actually is a similar complaint that I have to something like Persona 5, where you get... I can't remember which character it is you get last, but she's introduced so late that I'm like... Dog, I have enough people to worry about. Like the narrative has gotten to a point where like I don't need another face to worry about. And
you're either talking Haru or the lady they added in Royal.
Oh, then it's Haru. It's Haru. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and also just like, Watt is really powerful as a companion.
I love Watt. Yeah.
And as such,
Watt's
you're
so
using
good.
Watt constantly, and in a game with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companions, you know, it feels like a lot of them fall on the back burner unless you're using their overworld.
No, that's definitely true.
Like, I love Parakarry's design. When I played this as a child, I had Parakarry constantly. Parakarry is useless.
Yeah, in battle especially. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I actually never... I didn't even really use Goombario until, like, I realized, like, I hadn't used him. I'm like, oh, I should probably use Goombario a little bit.
He's bad. The only reason to use him is Tattle.
Yes, no, totally. And then I got a badge where I didn't have to use Tattle. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Bye, dude.
Yeah. And so I think the ones I ended up using the most were Bombette, Watt, and Sushi. Because I really like Watt being able to charge you to do a little bit more damage. I like Sushi making the water shield, and then Bombette just being able to blow the shit out of people. Just like
Bombette's really
attack.
good.
Yeah.
Bombette's insanely good too. But yeah, you basically use those three for the most of it. Yeah.
I really thought Junior Troopa was gonna join.
Oh, that would be so sick.
I thought that was like
awesome.
the long con, and when I heard, I knew, like down the line, it's like, oh, one of the last companions to join you is like a mini boss, and I was thinking, oh, it's got to be Junior Troopa. He joins up with you, and that's like that's the Riku is playable in Kingdom Hearts 2 reveal, you know. And you know, I like Lackluster.
Right? Yeah. But that's not even like... the thing about Lackluster is I think he's the least established character of all the other ones. Actually, no, Watt is definitely the least established in terms of the narrative. But, like, Lackluster just shows up, fights you, and then joins your team. You're like, huh? Like,
I legit, by that point in time, I think the game is ready to end.
I agree, but then there's also still 2.5 areas left.
Oof. Major oof. Although, I will say, that Cloud boss is fucking sick. I love that Cloud boss.
You like a little Huff and Puff?
Oh, Huff and Puff.
I love Huff and Puff. Yes, where you hit him, and like he brings out the little smaller Huff and Puffs. That's great. That's fantastic.
The bosses are fun because it's like, it's not just like, oh, we are doing the fight now. It's that like things change up. They talk to you. They like panic and things. It's again that feeling of constantly being engaged with the player, and that's something that Thousand Year Door, I think, does levels up, because it's not just that you're doing a boss battle, but it's also that you're doing a stage performance. So you appeal to the audience and things like that. And then like there's like twists on that where it's like, you think you're fighting the boss on stage, but then the boss goes down into the audience and you're fighting them there and things like that. Really clever. And it's just like, again, Paper Mario is good, but I think the sequel is just demonstrably better. And so when I'm playing it, I'm thinking about all the things the sequel does better.
No, I mean, that's definitely fair. And this is something that I feel quite frequently when I play sequels to games, is I like that they trounce their predecessors. I like that they build upon the games that came before. And sometimes that means that I have a sort of controversial take where I'm like, yeah, Last of Us 2 basically just replaced Last of Us 1 in my mind, or Tears of the Kingdom just kind of replaces Breath of the Wild in my mind. But I'm excited to play Thousand Year Door because now I have a framework of what it improves upon versus the original. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed the original Paper Mario. The only thing that I'm worried about with Thousand Year Door is that game's like double the goddamn length of Paper Mario. And I already felt that Paper Mario kind of outstayed its welcome just a tiny bit. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to play that game for 35 hours.
You know, but I think one thing I'll say about both Paper Mario games, well, I guess there's more than just these two, but we don't talk about the other ones.
But these two are like the ones that are fundamentally what people think.
Yes.
Like when people complain about Color Splash or Origami King, they want these again. And I don't necessarily think that's fair to those modern games, because I think those modern games are really awesome on their own. But that's what people want. 1,000-Year-Old Door 2 Electric Boogaloo.
But it's just like, and I don't want to make this an old man shakes fist at Cloud, because a lot of it is just I haven't played a lot
Old man
of
shakes mallet at Huff and Puff.
Yes, I haven't played a lot of AAA releases, but when I was playing this, I was kind of thinking like, man, I miss when games felt like an adventure. Like you were going to, like, I feel like games aren't episodic anymore in the way this is, where it's like, oh, you know, here you go to the desert town, and that's a self-contained narrative in the desert town. Whereas, like, in a modern open world game, it would be like, here's the desert area that's connected to the open world, you know?
I think that's interesting, and I think that I appreciated the episodic structure here. I do think that much like the partners, the little team members, I think that the structure feels a little bit disjointed. I think that because there are so few characters that end up coming back from those previous areas, they kind of feel one note. I think that the stories in and of themselves in each area they're solid, they're fine. But I think that my biggest problem with Super Mario RPG, playing the remake last year, is that moving on to the next area, I'm like, well, there's no reason to care, because I know that this is not specifically relevant to the larger point of the game, and I understand the appeal of that, but I find that I can get what you're talking about in terms of episodic stories if you focus on an area of an open world game and just do the side quests that are interlinked. Some of my favorite examples being in Tears of the Kingdom, when you go up to I think it's Hiteno or something, you do the whole hat quest where like you're going out at night and finding all these people, and there's like the vote going on. I'm like, that was a satisfying, interesting narrative in just that area, in the way that you might find going to just the desert area in Paper Mario to have that sort of segmented appeal. I find that I'm able to get that same kind of appeal by focusing in on side quests in one specific area, and that's one of my favorite things to do in open world RPGs. In fact, playing Dragon's Dogma, the best experience that I've had is wandering down to the slums in the first main city that you go to and doing every quest in that little area and getting to know all those characters and like finding secret areas in just that small area. And it felt very like insular. So I think that I understand the difference, but I think that that content and that appeal can still be, you can still satisfy that itch. It's just not as foregrounded. And so I would personally contend that modern RPGs and modern open world games, do both things better, a better overarching narrative, which I think Good Mario is pretty weak at. But I think you can also have that same kind of, I want just an episodic small area experience if you give the attention to just one town or just one like set of people.
But it's so easy to like, I could see, obviously we didn't do it because we had to rush to do this episode, but I could see putting the game down after a chapter end and picking it back up at a new chapter, because it kind of is like a smooth transition with like, you know, the stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, I know what I need to do. You're never like completely puzzled. They usually point you where to go pretty well. So like in that, I could completely appreciate it. There's some things I want to talk about that I feel like we need to talk about. How do we feel about the Peach segments?
I liked that. I think it breaks up the pace very nicely. I think that they're probably a little bit slow, and I think there's probably a little bit too many of them, which I think probably is what contributes to the game feeling like it outstays its welcome a little bit. But I also think it feels pretty bold, all things considered, in terms of most RPGs around this time are just very, very focused, and you don't really do like a different segment very often. And so having those Peach sections in between that allows the narrative to feel a little bit larger because you're not solely with Mario. And also, I think Twink is one of the best characters in the game. And the fact that they're different gameplay-wise, and you kind of get the stealth sections and stuff. I think that they're a really, really good addition. But, again, I think there's a little bit too slow, and I think there's a little bit too many of them. But overall, I'm very, very happy they're in there. Yeah.
By doing that, and you can play as Princess Peach, it does make her feel like a more active character.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
She's not just waiting to get rescued. She gets you items and intel and things. And also, it's just, you know, Bowser's funny, right? Like,
Bowser is funny.
I love his diary. That's my favorite joke in the entire game. Just the concept that Bowser has a daily diary where he writes like, "Well, diary, I failed to beat Mario, and that makes me really mad. I went to lie down for a while." You know?
I like when he walks in, he's like, man, I hope no one read my diary.
Yeah.
He's like, what? No. It's funny. Bowser's great. RPG Bowser is like next level, right? I like some of the like side stuff or like side gimmicky stuff. I like the dojo. Did y'all do the poet quest?
No.
Poet? What are you talking about?
It's kind of complicated. In Toad Town, there's like a poet. And in Dry Desert, there's that guy that's like, oh, I need lyrics. I'm a lyricist. I need lyrics.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
Yes, it's a side quest, and then you go back, and then a person sings the song. It's a super satisfying payoff, because like you do it, and then you hear a song at the end of it, and you go back and forth between the areas. That's all super cool. But the reward is, I'm like 90% sure, a fucking sound chip or the sound badge, where it changes the effects on your sound.
Yeah.
And
So
I
I
get so
got that.
fucking exhausted by those. I'm like, fuck this. There's another, like the old Koopa guy in Koopa Town gives you star pieces for little side quest things you can do. That's all super fun.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, the old Koopa, yeah.
I like the
Koopa's
food
great.
crafting.
Oh, food crafting is great.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know what's the deal with the pigs.
With the,
Oh, the
with
little-
the penis? What'd you just say?
No, the pig. He's talking about the...
Oh, the pigs.
the, like,
I think
gotcha
that's their
machine.
chow garden.
Yeah,
Oh.
kind of.
Okay. Well, I didn't do it, so.
Okay. Yeah, and I also just like the kind of random, because this is a game where you get like Goombas and Koopas and Bob-ombs as your companions, but also there's just a lot of like other non-distinct Mario characters walking around, like the weird dude that can raise one of your stats at the cost of lowering the
yeah.
other ones.
Yeah.
Like, what's that
Trench coat,
guy's deal? What's his design? He looks so creepy and interesting, you know?
No, it definitely does a lot of like having just strange characters in the background, which I really, really appreciate. I think one of my favorites is the little quiz worm guy who shows up every once in a while.
Yeah.
And you do
I
a
love
quiz question.
Chuck
and then
Quizmo.
Chuck Quizmo, yeah. And then my favorite part about him is that he like disappears into his own hat and then like pops out of existence. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on with this guy?
That's so weird. I like going to Mario's house and seeing Luigi. And I like seeing Luigi's diary. Did y'all read Luigi's diary?
No.
It's cute. It's a very cute moment. I'm trying to think of other things. I like the worlds and stuff. Go ahead. Forced edit here, but basically Murph was saying something regarding the music. He felt the music was lacking.
Other, even games of the time, the kind of musical styling, but it's just a lot of MIDI, you know?
MIDI.
I liked it. I think that I
liked
have
it.
to go through and like listen to them again. Cause I'm very big on listening back to soundtracks and that being sort of the thing that like cements them in my mind. But I remember myself humming along to quite a few tracks, so I'm certainly not going to criticize it. I can't say, oh, this one song in particular like really stood out to me. I don't think it's that kind of soundtrack, but I do not share that same critique.
A lot of the songs are like meant to like be in the background. You know what I mean? Like it's very like, I don't want to say, I don't know. It's just charming, light. There isn't bombast. And I definitely think there should be, like, for instance, in the Bowser fight, like Murph just said. But like in terms of like the regular battle theme and like walking around town, those songs are completely like good for me.
Toad Town's kind of bopping.
Oh, guys!
What?
This is super important.
Okay.
Super important.
I'm
You
awake,
just
I'm
gotta
alert.
level up. You gotta level up just now. What are you going to level it up?
Badge
Are you
points.
gonna level up your HP, your FP, or your badge?
Badges.
Badges.
I maxed out my badges.
You gotta go.
I need my stinking
Gotta-
badges.
You
But
gotta
also
go
because
badges,
that
dog.
feels like the rarest resource in the game, because badges take up so many slots, and you at the beginning you especially feel so limited. But also because upgrading your badges can help you upgrade your other stuff as well. Like you have those badges that can upgrade your health and upgrade your damage, and
Yeah, you can compensate, and you're like, man, I really need health. You could put that badge on, and then have it compensate for that. Absolutely, badges are the best.
yeah,
FP close behind, and then HP last.
My best decision that I made was saving my little star crystals, like the collectibles, until I got 25, and then I went and got the thing that gives me +1 damage to every attack I do, and then I felt so powerful, and then immediately after that I found another one, and so I had 2, and so I was doing like 7 damage per jump, and hammer hit, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a beast.
Tucker's like, I'm a god.
Yeah, because you really don't do much damage. That's the crazy thing about
the
the
damage
leveling
scaling's
up.
weird in this game. It's all very low. Yeah.
Especially once you get to enemies that have high defense, and you're like, I'm not doing shit to these guys.
Late game has high defense, and it's frustrating at points.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? I feel like we're wrapping up now.
Good game. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's light. I love it. I don't know. Here's the thing. It's kind of hard since Tucker hasn't played the other RPGs, but like it's either this or Superstar Saga for me.
I
as,
played like the
my
first
favorite.
90 minutes of Superstar Saga when Game Boy came to NSO, GBA came to NSO, and I'm like, this is really fun. But I got distracted by something. I can't remember what it was, but I did really enjoy the first bit of it that I played, and I think that game is funnier.
I haven't played Superstar Saga. I've only done Bowser's Inside Story.
Oh. Well, like, I mean, you can kind of see, like, what it built upon. Bowser's Inside Story is also really, really good, so there's no problem there. Like, Superstar Saga, for me, like, it gets rid of the party element and you just have Luigi, but their, like, button combos and all that stuff is super satisfying, and then the writing is also super sharp in those games. And I like, again, to talk Paper Mario in general as a franchise, I like the spin-offs. I like Super Paper Mario. I love Super Paper Mario.
I would do a Super Paper Mario episode.
Heck yeah. Super Paper Mario is sick. It's also sharp writing, but it also has a gameplay change. The only one I don't like is Sticker Star. And I think Sticker Star is just too generic.
I think most people don't like Sticker Star.
It's certainly the one I've heard the most crap about.
Honestly, I haven't gone back to Paper Mario for any of the recent ones because I miss the companions. I like having the distinct enemy designs and things like that.
I mean, I know that's probably the most prevalent complaint about those modern games is that they just use Toads and Bob-Ombs and Goombas.
Do you guys feel like that? I see it on the internet sometimes, that Nintendo mandate to not have those specific kinds of characters. Do you believe that's real? Because I don't, but I also see the idea behind it.
I think that it's true that they have been doing it less, and that is a complaint that I share. I'm like, that's more generic, that's a little more boring, whatever. But I don't think it's true that it's like a requirement. I think it just happened to be the trend.
Yeah, I have heard it debunked and proven so many times now. I'm not sure what I believe in terms of whether it's real. I do think there is a feeling that they sort of standardized a lot of the Mario designs and world. Like you were talking about with Princess Peach Showtime. It's done in that in-house style, you know, where it's not that stylized and it's not that distinct, but it is recognizably like Mario.
Yeah.
So, you know, and, you know, people are like, oh, we got the Super Mario RPG remake and the Thousand Year Door remake, though I don't really know how much, like, you know, the game looks great still, you know. I don't really know if I need a Switch remake, but there is this feeling of like, oh, they're testing the waters if they should go back to that type of Mario
I definitely
spin-off.
think that we've gotten better at variety especially the main Mario games on Switch. Wonder and Odyssey are two of the most creative and diverse 2D and 3D Mario platformers they ever done. I mean, that's part of the reason why those games are as great as they are. And so I do think that there's a great chance that the next new Paper Mario game is more in line with Thousand Year Door, because obviously they realize the draw for that game, or else they wouldn't be remaking it, and then putting a lot of effort into that remake. I mean, it is completely redone, and so I think there's a chance we get the Paper Mario 3 that people have been asking for 20 years at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, also you could see in indie games where people have compensated or whatever. There's that Bug Fables game, and there was also that Ghost game that I played like a year ago or 2 years ago. I think it was a year ago. And those games have a deeper focus on combat, and I don't necessarily think Mario should be like hardcore. Like, I don't want these games to be like heavy into like, oh, this. Like, I kind of like it being a game where it's a shallow to like enter, but has a deep system that you can appreciate the more you get into it. And that's what I really like. So I don't know. There's a market no matter what for Thousand-Year-Old Door stands and this style. I think Nintendo will go back.
Yep.
Well, you know where else you can go back to? You can go to the Backlog Banter and the Backlot Banter.
There you go.
Tucker, tell us about these enterprises.
That's the way that I usually describe them. So I'm very glad that you seem to be sharing that drive. BLB Enterprises, as it's known, BLB LLC.
LLC.
It's a series of YouTube videos about a bunch of white guys talking about media. I know it's a revolutionary concept. I know. Everyone wiping their brow and clutching their pearls. What a crazy revolutionary concept we've got here. But I like making YouTube videos, and I like talking about games, and I like talking about movies, and I think we do a pretty good job at it. So if you want games, you go to Backlog Banter, like a gaming backlog, and if you want movies, you go to Backlot Banter, which is like a filming backlot. So, you know, we kind of got a little brand synergy going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Backlot Banter is popping off.
Yeah, it is.
So.
Yeah.
If you like movies, that's where it's at. But they also do a really great job with games. What I really like about how you guys do videos is I think you all go for interesting questions now. Like, you all want engaging discussions.
Yeah,
that's the primary focus of the channel now.
No, absolutely.
And that's always really fun.
Because so many gaming channels just do the same topics that other people are doing, and I actually like that, because whenever I play a game and I want to see like a retrospective or a review, I like doing like 2 or 3 of the similar topic from different people, so you can get like a wider variety. But I always I'm sitting there and thinking about these things about gaming, actually one we have coming up that. This is the first time I'm telling anyone about this, but is the idea of friction in games, and how the conversation around Dragon's Dogma 2 and Princess Peach Showtime, those are such different games, and what is friction? How do you reconcile that with good game design or bad game design?
I've said the term player hostile before.
Yeah.
I think that is a fascinating topic, and I can't wait to hear y'all talk.
And that is one coming up soon. And then also, as I said, very, very soon is why Princess Peach Showtime is not that good, which is apparently controversial opinion, because almost every single video I've watched is like, yeah, it's a kid game. Don't be too harsh on it. It's kind of cute and kind of simple.
I think
No, we-
that
we-
That's not
comes
why
from.
we are critics, Tucker. We have to take it down.
I think it comes from the feeling of like we haven't gotten a Princess Peach led spin-off since 2005.
Yeah.
So people are like, we need to show Nintendo we're interested in this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's just going to go back in the box.
Yeah. And going back to Showtime for a bit, I think it's a good foundation. I think if they do a sequel to it and they really boost the exploration and the variety between the costumes and stuff, or even something totally different, I think there's potential for Peach to have a really good game, but I just don't think that was it. So I hope it doesn't end there.
Brogan, what have you been working on outside of the Daydream Cast cottage?
I have not been working on anything in the past few weeks other than the PAX thing. But, like, in the past few years, this is a year-long thing, there has been a mod team for Dark Souls 3 called Archthrones. And I have contributed to it via writing. I wrote some of the NPCs and some of the item descriptions for the thing. I am not the lead writer or anything, but they knew that I was a writer and I knew my shit regarding Dark Souls, so they hired me. And there is a demo now out for the mod, and there's even a patch for it because a lot of people had difficulties with it. But now I think it's completely playable, completely fine. Honestly, awesome. Like, looking at it, it is one of the most comprehensive, overhaul mods visually. And it's pretty hardcore, too. So if you like Dark Souls 3, if you're into it, it's one of the best there is at what it does.
Okay. And also keep your eyes on the Daydreamcast YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting up a video there shortly covering some games I played on my 2-week vacation into Canada. They're all technically Steam Deck reviews, though, mileage may vary on there. Turns out, Destroy All Humans 2 looks like ass on Steam Deck.
I believe it.
Okay.
But some other fun games will be mentioned as well. And I'm also going to plug my other podcast, This Podcast is a Bad Idea, where every month me and my co-host Fru look over different topics of internet interest. We're going to be doing a mini-sode this week, talking about the Glasgow Willy Wonka AI-generated event.
Jesus, yeah.
And then a
That
much
is fascinating.
larger two-parter covering the rise and fall of Rooster Teeth, now that the fall is very definitive.
I will be there for those. Those are sick. Murph, you've lied to me in the show notes. What is our next game?
Our next game is...
We don't know it. The answer is
Yeah.
we don't know it. We have no idea.
Uh-oh.
If you say nothing, I'm going to say Harvester. You always were a kidder, Brogan.
What is Harvester, Murph? What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. I've heard of Harvestella.
What
Harvester?
about Harvest Moon?
It's a point-and-click FMV horror game.
Christ.
I'll do it. Sure, let's do Harvester. Fuck it. Why not?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, it's Harvester. Yeah. I know nothing about this game. I'm gonna regret it.
Chuckles to self secretly.
We're playing out, y'all. Thank you so much, Tucker, for joining us.
Absolutely. I'd like to do my once-a-year Daydream Cast appearance. I believe, actually, the last episode that we did went up on March 22nd of last year, so...
You were on the PAX West special.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, twice a year then. I did. Cool game
right.
to talk about. Like talking about spin-offs. Like shit on Peach. So, wait to hang out with. Wait, hold on.